Hi everyone and welcome to Mr. Unknown Storyteller. If you are new here, hit subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon for more stories like that. We dive into darkest chilling horror stories. Part 1. They say at least 10 people were murdered inside this house. But that's not the part that scares me. What scares me is what followed me home. And I swear on everything I love this is a true story. I wasn't planning to spend the night at the old plantation in Louisiana. I was just chasing content, trying to get that one viral video that would blow up my channel. The place was built in 1796, back when the air was thick with war, sickness, and secrets nobody dared to write down. You could feel it the second you stepped onto property. The humid Louisiana air wrapped around me like wet hands. Spanish moss hung from the trees like long gray fingers, and the house just stood there watching me. The wood looked swollen from centuries of heat and storms. The windows reflected the sky like dead eyes. I remember thinking this was either going to make my career or ruin me. Locals told me not to go inside after sunset. They didn't say it like a joke either. They said it like people who had already learned the hard way. One old guy at a gas station looked me dead in the face and said a house keeps what it wants. I laughed it off. Big mistake. When I pushed open the front door, it let out this long, slow creak that echoed through the empty halls. Dust floated in the air like it had been disturbed before I even walked in. The floorboards groaned under my boots, and every step sounded like it didn't want me there. The place used to be a plantation home. And history, there wasn't just dates and facts. It was suffering soaked into the walls. People died from illness during outbreaks, others from violence during conflicts. Some just vanished from records entirely, and you could feel that weight pressing on your chest. I set up my camera in the main hallway where candlelight once reflected in tall antique mirrors. The biggest mirror sat at the end of the corridor, taller than me, framed in dark carve wood that looked almost twisted. Locals call it the trapped mirror. They say spirits get stuck inside it, and sometimes they press their hands against the glass trying to get out. I didn't believe that either. At least not then. Around 8 p.m. the swamp fog started rolling in outside. You could see it through the cracked windows. Thick white mist swallowing the yard. Insects buzzed loud at first, then suddenly went quiet, and that silence hit harder than any noise. I started talking to the camera, giving background about the legend of Chloe, an enslaved woman who once lived there. The story says her ear was cut off as punishment for eavesdropping, and that she wore a green turban to cover the wound. Legend claims she poisoned the family she served, maybe for revenge, maybe by accident. Nobody knows for sure. That's the thing about legends. They live in the gray. Later, they say she was hanged on the property, and ever since then people claim to see a woman in a green turban in photographs taken inside the house. There's even an old famous photo where a faint figure appears on the balcony, wearing what looks like green fabric around her head. I told my viewers all of this while standing in front of that mirror, trying to act brave, but low-key my stomach felt twisted. Around 10:47 p.m. I heard the first sound. It was a slow, deliberate footstep upstairs. I froze mid-sentence. The house was supposed to be empty. I even checked every room before starting. Another step followed, then another, like someone pacing back and forth. I grabbed my flashlight and started up the staircase, each step growing loud enough to wake the dead. Halfway up, I felt a sudden cold spot brush past my shoulder, like someone walked right through me. I swear the temperature dropped at least 10 degrees. When I reached the top floor, the hallway stretched long and dark. Doors lined both sides, slightly open, like mouths waiting to speak. I heard a soft laugh, not loud, not dramatic, just a childlike giggle from the end of the hall. My heart started slamming against my ribs. I called out asking if someone was there. Nothing answered, but one of the doors slowly creaked shut on its own. No wind, no draft, just closed. I stepped inside that room and immediately felt like I was being watched. The bed in the center started shaking lightly, like something sat down on it. I backed up so fast I almost tripped over my own feet. That's when my camera battery glitched from full to 10% in seconds. I ran back downstairs, breathing heavy, telling myself it was just old wiring or animals in the walls. But deep down I knew something else was happening. When I reached the hallway, the mirror looked different. I can't explain how, but it felt deeper, darker, like it wasn't just reflecting the room. I stepped closer, and that's when I saw it. Faint handprints on the inside of the glass, not outside, inside, small and smeared like someone had pressed their palms desperately against it. My chest tightened. I slowly lifted my hand toward the surface, and for a split second I thought I saw a face behind my reflection. Not clear, just an outline where my face should have been. I stumbled backward, heart racing, telling myself it was just light distortion. But then I heard breathing, soft, steady, right behind me, and I was completely alone. I didn't move when I heard that breathing behind me. I just stood there in the hallway, staring at the mirror like an idiot, hoping it would explain itself. The glass looked darker than before, like it wasn't reflecting the room anymore but swallowing it. I kept telling myself it was old wood shifting, swamp humidity messing with acoustics, my brain trying to scare me because I had filled it with legends all night. But deep down I knew that wasn't it, because the breathing wasn't random. It was steady, controlled, like someone standing inches from the back of my neck. I slowly turned around expecting to see a prankster or trespasser, but the hallway was empty, completely empty, and the silence that followed felt wrong. Not peaceful, not natural. It was a kind of silence that presses against your ears until they ring. I checked the time on my camera screen, and it read 2:13 a.m., the exact moment everything changed. The insects outside that had been buzzing all night suddenly stopped. The distant frogs in the swamp cut off mid-sound. Even the wind died, and in that heavy quiet I heard it again. Footsteps, slow, dragging, coming from the far end of the hallway behind me. I didn't want to turn this time. I swear I didn't. But something in me needed to see, so I forced myself to look. The corridor stretched long and empty under dim moonlight spilling through the windows, but the footsteps kept coming, even though nothing was there. Each step echoed closer, deliberate, unhurried, like whatever was walking knew I couldn't escape. My mouth went dry. My hand started shaking so bad the camera rattled. The footsteps stopped directly behind me. I felt cold air press against my back, and then the mirror cracked sharply, not shattering, just a single loud split running across the top corner. I spun around and saw fresh handprints smeared across the inside of the glass, sliding downward slowly like someone was trying to claw their way out. I stepped closer without thinking, like an idiot in a horror movie, and that's where my reflection lagged half a second behind my movement. I leaned left. It leaned left late. I raised my hand. It hesitated before copying me. My stomach dropped because that wasn't possible. Reflections don't think before they move. Then the face behind my reflection began to form, faint at first, like fog gathering into shape. I saw the outline of a woman's head, fabric wrapped around it, dark green against the pale blur of her face. She stood inches behind my reflection, but not behind me in the actual hallway, and that difference is what broke my brain. I turned around again. Nothing there. Turned back to the mirror. She was closer, her head slightly tilted, like she was studying me. I whispered that I wasn't there to disrespect anyone, that I would leave, and the breathing grew louder, not behind me this time, but from the mirror itself, like the glass had lungs. Then came the laugh, soft, childlike, echoing from upstairs, followed by another, and another, multiple children giggling like they were playing tag above my head. The ceiling creaked under invisible weight, footsteps running back and forth in patterns that made no sense. And then a heavy thud shook the entire house, dust falling from the corners of the ceiling. I backed away from the mirror, and the front door slammed shut on its own. The sound was violent, final, like the house had just locked itself with me inside. I ran to the door and grabbed the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I twisted it harder, yanked it with both hands. Nothing. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath in front of me in Louisiana humidity that should not happen. And that's when I felt something brush against my ankle, soft fabric dragging lightly across my skin. I looked down before I could stop myself, and saw nothing, but the sensation lingered like fingers sliding away. I stumbled back and heard whispering led under the children's laughter, voices overlapping, too low to understand. But I swear one of them said my name, not the channel name, my real name, the one I never say on camera. My chest tightened like something had wrapped invisible rope around it. I started praying under my breath, didn't even realize I was doing it, and suddenly everything stopped. The laughter cut off, the whispers faded, the cold air lifted, and the front door slowly creaked open by itself, not fast, not dramatic, just slow enough to feel intentional, like the house had decided it was done with me for now. I didn't wait. I ran into the swamp fog without looking back. The mist swallowed the house almost instantly, and for a split second I thought I saw a shape standing on the balcony above, tall, still, with something dark wrapped around its head. I jumped in my car and drove off shaking so bad I almost missed the road. The thunder rolled behind me as if chasing, and I didn't slow down until Plantation was miles away. When I finally reached my motel room, I locked the door twice and shoved a chair under the handle like that would actually help. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. But I told myself I had what I needed: crazy footage, viral potential, proof. So I opened my laptop and started reviewing the files. The hallway footage looked normal at first, just me rambling about history. Then I reached the mirror scene. I paused it and zoomed in, and there she was, clear as day, standing behind my reflection, green fabric wrapped tightly around her head, her posture stiff and unnatural, shoulders slightly angled wrong like her joints didn't bend the way ours do. Her face was pale and blurred, but her eyes were darker than anything else in frame, and they weren't looking at the camera. They were looking at me. I scrubbed frame by frame and realized something that made my blood run cold. She wasn't just standing there. She was moving closer with every second. Not in the hallway, only inside the mirror. By the time I turned around in the footage to look behind me, she was almost touching my reflection. But when the camera showed the actual hallway, it was empty. I replayed it over and over, hoping it would glitch away. But it didn't, and then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no caller ID, just a single message with photo attached. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct screamed not to, but I did. It was a picture of me standing in that hallway, taken from behind at an angle I never filmed. In the photo, she wasn't behind me in the mirror. She was standing directly beside me, her head tilted toward my ear like she was whispering something, and my shadow on the wall stretched toward her unnaturally, like it belonged to both of us. I checked the metadata, hoping it was fake, but the timestamp matched 2:13 a.m. exactly. My breathing turned shallow. I tried calling the number back. It didn't exist. I deleted the message, powered off my phone, and told myself I was safe because I had left the house. But around 3:33 a.m. I woke up suddenly, not from a noise, but from that same heavy silence pressing against my ears. The motel room felt thick, humid, like the swamp had followed me inside. I stared at the dark TV screen across from my bed, and in its black reflection I saw a faint shape standing behind me, tall, still, with a hint of green near where the head would be. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared, and after a few seconds, the reflection slowly tilted its head. but I hadn't moved at all, and that's when I realized something that still makes my skin crawl. When I blinked, it didn't.